Okay. So hi everybody, welcome to Exposure Series. I'm Kriti Sabnis Krishna. I'm a girl with a really long name, but I'm also an SI student. So one of the major factors that was considered while coming to SI was my family's health. That was a major concern for me, before deciding to come here. So you're wondering what Kiviv has to do with that. So it's pronounced as Kiviv, and there's a very interesting story behind it. So the French sentinel in around 18th century used to go around asking "Qui voulez-vous, qui vive," meaning "Long live who," and it depends. Your life depended on the answer, saying "Long live the king," and that meant that Kiviv was in a way meant that you have to be on a lookout or keep an alert on when they were going to ask "Qui voulez-vous, qui vive." So the English borrowed this phrase later on and rephrased it, and now the Webster's definition of it is being on an alert and being on a lookout. So what am I being on a lookout for? So Kiviv is a part of my Intro to Interaction Design class. We were asked to come up with a design to better long-distance relationships, and I chose tracking my family's health as a design problem. Kiviv is a mobile application that I'm trying to design for a techie like me who's trying to keep track of my family's health. So there's a design process that I followed while designing Kiviv. So there was definition, discovery, synthesis, refine, and reflect. So definition was coming up with a mission statement as to what Kiviv will do, and discovery was understanding the problem. Synthesis was coming up with various alternatives for this design problem. And refine was more of choosing one alternative and building on that, and reflecting was looking back and seeing what went wrong with designing Kiviv, and what could have gone better with doing that. So coming to the definition phase, scoping the design problem, there is always a problem with us trying to drift away from the actual focus statement. When we try to come up with creative solutions, we become more open-minded, and so we get creative, we lose focus. So one of the problems that I faced while designing Kiviv was I was trying to move away and trying to think of features maybe my granny remotely wants me to transfer money when she's in the hospital. That's more of a remote financial tracking system and not a remote health tracking system. So that was more towards moving away from the design problem scope, and it's very hard to keep yourself focused, and a focus statement would help you do that. Moving to the discovery phase, you have this creating a persona while you're designing anything. So you have this whole different kinds of users that you're designing these solutions for. In my case, I had two different kinds of personas, one being my granny, who's not a techie, and one being me, who's techie and can use the mobile apps. And so for my granny, I would design just a wristband or something. But then we usually tend to lose a lot of different users, So during our design brainstorm sessions, I realized that I forgot a whole set of users. That's my parents. My parents might want to keep track of my grandparents' health, but I created a small persona for my mom, who is maybe well equipped with computer technology and not maybe phone applications like this, like you can see here. So the persona was to just create a couple of creating a couple of statements defining who the user is. So I was reading this really interesting paper on designing a radiation equipment for cancer patients. Sometimes we forget about this whole set of users like I talked to you about, but we also forget this whole deal with designing for the designing keeping in mind the emotions of the users. So in this case, they designed a cancer radiation treatment equipment without considering how the patient feels. They interviewed various users like the nurses, the administrative officers, the doctors, but they forgot about interviewing the patients themselves who go into these traumatizing equipments, and they, so there is one aspect of design that we usually forget, that is the emotions of the users, and empathizing with these passive users is very important. So now we come to the design synthesis phase, where we come up with various design alternatives for these problems. And so this is a very interesting picture of the Bell Lab, which came up with 18 different alternatives for the phone number pad that as we know of today. So when we were moving from the whole circulation to the phone number pad, which is 3x3 with a 0 in the 0 at the bottom, they had come up with 18 different alternatives, and choosing from these alternatives was a major problem, because they didn't know how the users will like, what the users will be comfortable with. So choosing from, say, the calculator design of the number pad versus the phone number was really hard. So then there is Keyweave's alternatives. Coming back to Keyweave, I designed this small wristband that my granny could wear to sort of like, send an SOS alert if she has something critical that happens, or call the nearest hospital with that blue button. And the green button was the one which was out of scope that we talked about previously. The design alternative was also Keyweave as an earplug. So if she could just sort of like put it on her ear, and sort of like, she knows when there's something wrong with her body, and then she sort of can press few buttons on top of the ear and know what, or send an alert to her family members or something like that. So trackers Keyweave. So the Keyweave part of it for a techie user like me could be, for me to keep track of what's happening with my family regarding, say, their reports, or their doctor's appointments or whatever. So I also came up with another feature called report sharing. This could be a rare case scenario where maybe I want to consult a doctor remotely, maybe in the UFM hospital, but I don't know how to get the reports from say my parents who have like X-rays and scans which can't be scanned usually using the normal paper scans. So I was thinking of, I don't know the medical technologies as of now, but then it was just an open-ended idea as to have like a barcode attached to the X-rays, or a QR code attached to it. Using all these various brainstorm sessions that we had, I came up with a few additional features, saying a gyroscopic sense. If my granny were to wear these wristbands and she falls off, the gyroscopic sensors on the wristband could inform any of us. Or the blood pressure tracker is another feature where when my dad gets really pissed off, he sort of like, there is a sudden increase in his blood pressure, and if he knew when he gets pissed off, the wristband could glow with the red color or whatever, and sort of inform him that something's wrong, and he'll know when to. So coming to the refining phase of it, where we could use brainstorm sessions where you sort of like bounce ideas off each other. And one of the major things that I noticed during brainstorm sessions is that we designers get attached to our designs and we don't want to let them go. And talking to people about it will always help, understanding what can go wrong in your design. And this might sometimes help you choose the right design and not what you love. So design critics is another way to, sort of get a refinement on your design solutions. It's not a blame game. It's not personal. It's not about massaging people's egos. It's all about the end product. And it's at the end of it, it's not about building your product. It's building about the right product. So design critique sessions will sort of help you understand what is wrong. So what might go wrong? So this is the reflect stage of the design process, where you look back and you understand what went wrong in the design process. So, onboarding the users was a major problem with Windows 8 with Microsoft, where they removed this whole start button and they did not inform the users. And my mother was overwhelmed with the whole interface when she saw it, and she was like, where is my start button? How do I go and operate anything on my operating system? So there are various other issues with KeyWeave that I still have to figure out, like maybe the comfort of use. Maybe the older people will not be comfortable with wearing a wristband, or maybe the medical technology feasibility with all these awesome features that I'm talking about. So that is about it. As I've read about these Pecha Kucha talks, I discovered that it's about uncovering all the unexpected questions, unexpected talents, unexpected ideas. So I'm here for any unexpected questions. So you could email me, or sort of follow me on Twitter or whatever. So that is that. I just want to end this talk by just saying this very interesting quote from Einstein, saying the important thing is to not stop asking questions. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. So that is about it from me. Thank you. I can take some questions if you have any now.
That's great, thank you. A question.
Sure.
In terms of, at what point in the phase do you think about how resistant, medical professionals are often to technology like this? I mean, in Canada at least, only so recently I've been sent emails to my doctor directly, right? But there's this kind of like odd relationship with technology. We use pretty old school methods to do things like appointments.
Yeah.
So how is that? Is this something that you're sort of kind of putting into your research? And
Yeah. So. Well, I would say that will fall under the discovery phase, where you sort of are trying to understand what the users want and the goals of what you call the mission statement of your design problem. It's more of understanding the users and relating to what they want. And I think most of the research that happens usually happens in the discovery phase. So that's where when you move on to the synthesis phase, you already know what the users want. So the whole design process that I'm talking about is, I would say it's more of an iterative procedure than one circle. It just goes on and it goes back, and it's sort of like a iterative procedure. So I would say it's a gray region. It will fall under maybe discovery phase. Yeah. Any other questions?
Have you designed anything else? Are you more into the design, like the function of designing, or have you had other designs you wanted to make?
This is my first intro to interaction design. I haven't done any. I come from an engineering background, so I usually think of how to do it than what to do it. So I was more interested in understanding, the design phase of any product, because I was more at the implementation phase, where you sort of like start building stuff and you don't know where the product is going, or sort of like you don't know who will use it.
You can't really decide what you're going to do until you start.
Exactly, and I wanted to be in the discovery phase, where sort of understand who are the people who are using it and what do they need, why do they need what they need, and stuff like that, more than how to build and how to I just wanted to understand what the relate to the users more than the product. I was sort of like, yeah. Oh yeah, I have talked to her about this. I also talked to my dad about the BP tracker. He was really happy about that. He was like, hey, that would keep me under control, that would make me less angry. And yeah, my granny wanted this whole. She loves to travel. If I were to create a persona of my granny, I would say all the older people who love to travel and are scared because they don't have their family members with them all the time. She loved the gyroscopic idea where, if something were to happen to her and she is to fall, she doesn't even have the capability of, sort of like sending an SOS alert. If she feels very powerful if she had the band, and the band would take care of everything. So she was happy about the gyroscopic part of it. Yeah.
Two questions. One, how do you prioritize, let's say there are 10 people all of them and an SOS program. How does the doctor know it's a legitimate emergency and how does he prioritize?
Yeah, so very interestingly, this question came up in one of the design brainstorm sessions. So one of my friends in the brainstorm session did talk about her grandparents who just they forget who to send it to, or they might just send it even when there is no SOS. So we came up with an idea where the SOS would sort of like connect to one of the other family members who are maybe not as old as maybe your grandparents. That's when I was talking about the mid-level trackers who could internally see how critical the event is, call the person up and ask them, sort of like, is everything okay, or was it like a sort of an accident? It could just be a multiple hop instead of one direct hop. So.
Suppose there are 3 of the members
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they have their own identity.
Yeah, so I haven't thought of that. That's an interesting one. Maybe I'll think about it later. Yeah, that is one of the questions I think which came up in the brainstorm session, but I haven't thought of that yet. So yeah, thank you.